our last lesson of this unit, and it can be tricky for some students. As long as you know the common vocabulary word, I think you're fine. The biggest thing is there's so many words with this, and a lot of times when teenagers see a bunch of words, they think, I don't get it, I'm not going to do it, and I can't let you shut down like that. You need to face it. So the topic today is writing a function, which is an equation. A function is an equation. Your learning target, you can write an equation for various word problems. Here's vocab words you need to know. Is means equals. Okay? Per, multiply. It's a rate. Circle or cloud rate. You need to know that. Rate means multiply. Rate is what's changing. If you're babysitting neighborhood kids, if you're lucky enough to earn some money that way, you should have a rate. You should say, I'm going to charge $9 an hour to watch your kids. That's your rate. What's changing is however many hours you're going to be watching the kids. And the vocab word each also means multiply. I also want you under here, you got plenty of room. I want you to write the vocab grouping less than. It's one that kids mess up all the time. I like one of my 7th graders this year used, he said, think of it as less important, so go second or last. That's how I want you to think about it. Like 5 less than X. 5 is less important than X. Put it second. Okay. Lots of people put 5 minus X. The MCA will put 5 minus X. They know that that's a common thing you're going to think about, and they're going to test to see how good are you at observing that it should be second. Okay, the first grouping of writing a function rule, this is just aligned with our first day's lesson, like from the first week of school. Just given a word phrase, make an equation. So 5 less than, that means it's less important, it should go second. 5 less than the product of 6 and X. What does product mean?
Adding.
Multiplying. So that means I'm going to go 6X is, what does is mean?
Equals.
Equals. 5 less than means less important. So I'm going to go 6X minus 5 is 32. Okay, next example. 2 more than the quotient of X and 3 is negative 5. What's more than mean? Addition. 2 more than means plus. Quotient. What does quotient mean? Divide. How do we show division? Do we show it like this or show it with a fraction bar?
Fraction.
Yes, you better not put the division symbol, okay? Because it is not pretty. Division symbol is messy looking. So it should be the quotient. Whatever goes first goes on top. 2 more than it, so plus 2. Is means equals negative 5. So I'm given a word phrase, and I just created an equation, also known as a function. The product of 5 and the sum of X and 9 is 90. There was back in the first week of school, I said, you always know when you need to use parentheses if there's 2 vocab words, operation vocab words. So if write this on the left, 2 operation vocab words, that means product, sum, different, that kind of stuff. Means parentheses need to happen. And maybe you can just write the parentheses symbol. So anytime you're given more than one vocab word, you're going to have to use parentheses somewhere. So I have the vocab word product, and I have the vocab word sum. So I'm going to need parentheses. The product of 5 and, so 5, that's where my parentheses is going to go. 5 times the sum of x and 9. What does sum mean? Add. So I'm going to add x and 9. Is, what does is mean? Equals 90. So notice I really marked this up too to try to help me. So the next page is going to look more difficult than this page, but the next page, that's why don't judge a book by its cover. The next page looks more difficult, but this is more difficult than the next page. Promise you. Or maybe, I don't know. But I think I promise you that the next page is easier than this. Do you feel okay with giving a word phrase to turn it into an equation?
Yeah.
I mean, are you going to let less than trick you up?
No.
Does less than go first or second? Second. Okay. So equations from word problem. This is the skeleton. And I taught this to my 8th grader this past week, and she had IXL on it. I said it's always going to look like this. Y equals something times x plus something. This is going to be whatever your rate is. Always. Whatever your rate is, you put it in front of the x. What goes second is your initial, what you started with. It's aligned with this class. We've been exposed to it. Y equals mx plus b. It's a line. It's a function. So y is equal to something times x plus something. For word problems, it's y equals whatever the rate is times x plus whatever you started with. So even though this looks confusing, all I'm looking for is what's changing, what's my rate, and what did I start with? And then I put it in here. So you could even go like this, because that's how it's going to look. It's going to look something like this. Y equals rate times x plus your starting point. A kennel charges $15 each day to board dogs. Upon arrival, a dog must have a flea bath that costs $12. Write an equation to see how much it would cost if the dog stayed 8 days. We don't need to know this part. Let's just see how much it would cost. So what's changing? What's my rate? Is my rate the bath, or is my rate the amount of days it's at the kennel? The amount of days is my rate. So this is my rate, so that goes there. $15 each day my dog is at the kennel. And then what do I have to give them right away? A bath. How much is the bath? That's my starting point. So I took something that looked really tricky, and I said, okay, I just need to know what's changing, where do I start? Okay.
That's the answer.
Yeah, that's it. Well, it said how much for 8 days, and I think your worksheet does too. Now you take the equation and you times it by the amount of days and find out how much it would cost you. The biggest learning target, though, is writing the equation. That's where I want you to be.
So you just write that down.
You are in a cave that's 30 feet below the ground. You are descending at a rate of 9 feet per minute. Write an equation to find out how many feet below the ground you are. And then we don't need to worry about this. Okay? So that means I should have y equals something times x plus something. What is my rate? 30. It said rate of 9. 9 feet a minute, right? So I put 9. But it also, tricky, says descending. If I say that you're does descending going up or going down?
Down.
So it should be negative 9. Oh, little tricky descending word. And my initial, where did I start? I started 30 feet below the ground. What does below the ground mean?
Negative.
Negative 30. Okay? Again, I know it's going to look something like this. Rate times x plus where I started. You are in Chicago, you're going to get a cab. It charges $1.75 for each mile. It has a flat fee of $10. How much will you pay if you go 7 miles? Meaning, give me the equation. So, what's my rate? What's changing? Yeah, my miles. I can go 1 mile, I could go 100 miles. So my rate is $1.75. How much do they charge me at first? Yep. So rate plus initial. Initial, or what did I say before? Starting, yeah. So rate plus what it starts at. And they have to have that, because you know how many people would be too lazy to walk a block and say, hey, give me a ride up the block. And then all of a sudden, the taxi guy is out of that money, or girl is out of that money. So they have to be like, sure, I'll drive you a block, but you have to give me $10 to drive you. Starting amount. Did I say starting amount? Huh? Start with initial, same thing. I like these better than the first page because I know what it should look like. The first page can be tricky. No, but then we get to this stuff. You need to write 2 equations down because you will want to reference them. Write a little picture of a rectangle and say area equals length times width. And write a little picture of a triangle and say area equals, anyone remember? Gatlin? Well, yeah, I mean, I guess. Base times height divided by 2. Same thing. I know. It's the same, but they use different words, letters. Okay. So you need to know these 2 formulas today. I want to write a function for the area of a rectangle whose width is 5 more than the length. So area of a rectangle is this, right? Area equals length times width. I always start with what you know. I know that. Now I'm going to deal with what I don't know. The width is, remember that means equal, the width is 5 more than the length. The length plus 5. The width is the length plus 5. Now I put this there. So I say the area is equal to length times L plus 5. Leave it like that.
That's the answer.
That, yeah, because you can't really do anything with that. Okay. Write a function for the area of a triangle whose height is double the base. So here's what I do. I write the original area equals base times height over 2. That's the formula I gave you. Now I say whose height is, that means h equals double its base. So 2 times the base. H equals 2b. Do you see? Now I put